Hey guys, I'm Rich. Welcome to Rich with Cars. Today I'll give you part 3 of living with the BMW M5 F90 pre-LCI. Want to give you guys a final update. Finally got everything resolved after so many days, so much hassle, and I wanted to give you guys sort of what's been done, and now finally the car is running smoothly, running perfectly. Hopefully you guys can get something out of this for some of you that are experiencing some of the similar issues, because I know that some people contacted me after parts 1 and 2 and basically told me that they were going through the same thing. So hopefully after this video you guys can maybe go back to your dealership if you have not resolved your issues, maybe have them do some of the similar resolutions that I went through. So guys, let's strap in and take a look. So in this final part of this 3-part series of the issues that I've gone through with my F90 M5, I want to give you guys all the stuff that I've gone through and the things I've been basically done to the vehicle to resolve the issues that I had. Primarily there was one issue that was ongoing. It didn't get resolved and I had to go back to the dealership several times. And finally, the dealership that I went through, they were phenomenal, to be honest. I ended up going to a dealership that was about an hour and a half outside of where I live. Because if you guys watched my first 2 videos, the initial dealership that I went through in Central Florida, they were just atrocious, to be honest. In no particular order, the first issue was that the HVAC was acting weird. Frankly speaking, I didn't really have much to deal with because the issue basically resolved by itself. It started pushing out cold air after a while. I think it was just maybe a minor glitch or a bug that was going on with the vehicle. The HVAC resolved by itself. Now we're at 94 Fahrenheit outside ambient temperature, but with the heat index we're probably at 105. It's been very hot here in Central Florida for the last several weeks. I have to say that the HVAC's been working great. Nothing's been done, or nothing was done by the dealership. I think it was just a bug that was affecting the HVAC system. But now, like whenever I put in low temperatures, as you can see, 69 Fahrenheit here, it seems to be working fine. So the other thing was the brakes. From my previous video, they said that they needed a replacement. One thing that I do want to mention was that after going to the first dealership that I was not happy with, after they told me some of the stuff that I needed to replace, like the engine mounts and the brakes and the battery, I decided to go to a third-party non-BMW garage that specializes in BMWs. And they told me that, first of all, the engine mounts didn't need replacement. They were in perfect condition. The battery didn't need replacement. They showed me the voltage readings. Everything was perfect there as well. And finally, the brakes also didn't need replacement. They said that they had some mild rust on the edges, but the pads basically had 7 millimeters remaining in the rears and 5 millimeters remaining in the front. So nothing to worry about over there. Now the ongoing issue that I was dealing with were these, I basically grouped them together, which was the engine would immediately shut off after starting. The engine was running rough on idle, or that it was trembling on idle, and that I would get a check engine light, which I don't have here anymore. All those things were associated with one another, which was that the cylinders were misfiring because there was the expansion tank, which is a common issue with the BMW F90 M5 pre-LCI especially. The expansion tank that has a coolant fluid started leaking, and that is something that is very well known amongst the BMW community. Mine started leaking, and because of that, the leak started to go into the bores, which caused a little bit of corrosion. And I'll show you guys some of the service receipts that I got in terms of what's been done. So first of all, the car immediately shutting off after starting. Like I said, that was associated with the cylinders misfiring. That was resolved with the replacement of the spark plugs and ignition coils and the wiring harness for the plugs, and the cleaning of the bores. Cleaning of the bores, like I said before, was because some of the coolant that leaked out started going into the bores themselves. They cleaned the bores thoroughly because of the leak that was coming from the expansion tank. They cleaned the bores, the plugs, the coils. They actually replaced the plugs and the coils. In fact, what ended up happening was they found misfires on cylinders 5, 6, 7, and 8, which was an entire bank. And then finally, what they had done was they replaced all the coils and the plugs for an entire bank. They gave me the car back. Initially started doing okay, but then it started misfiring again. I brought it back to the dealership, and then after that what happened was they realized that maybe the wiring harness for the plugs was affected because of the leak of the coolant that affected that as well. So they replaced the wiring harness, they replaced some of the coils and the plugs again, cleaned everything up, and finally, after all that, the check engine light, the misfiring, which caused trembling or rough idling, and also the fact that the car would immediately shut off, all that went away. It took basically a total of about 45 days to be at the dealership in order to get all that stuff resolved. What ended up happening was that the dealership had a field engineer verify all the work that was done, and then they even had the field engineer give them all the direction of what needed to get done on both times that I showed up to the dealership. The initial visit to them was about 30 days or a little bit more, 32 days. The second visit to the dealership was about 10 or 11 days as well. Finally, after all that was done, after all the cleaning, all the replacement of coils and plugs, and the wiring harness, everything seems to be working fine, thank God. They even had a boroscope go inside, verify what was going on. That's how they found out some of the corrosion that was going on. That's why they ended up cleaning it. All in all, I've been super happy with this dealership. I have to thank BMW of Melbourne. They've been phenomenal in terms of communication, keeping me up to date, telling me what was going on. And every few days they tell me, look, we tried doing this. We figured that this would actually work, but it's not working. We're gonna try that. So finally, after a couple of visits with them, it all got resolved. I just wanted to give you guys that update, and I hope that this could be helpful for you guys in the future. And if you're still dealing with any sort of issues on your vehicle, I would highly recommend to bring your vehicle back to the dealership and tell them to take a more thorough look, maybe even have them use a boroscope to go inside of the bores, see if there's any corrosion that was caused by the leak from the expansion tank. My expansion tank was also replaced, and I hope that this video helps you guys out in terms of getting some of the stuff done for your vehicle to resolve any issues. Well guys, I hope this quick video with a final part of my 3-part series of what I was experiencing with the M5 gave you some insight in terms of what's been done to the vehicle and what resolved all the issues I was going through, namely the check engine light. The check engine light was basically, like I said before, associated to the rough idling and the misfiring of the cylinders. And that was the root cause of all that, was the fact that the expansion tank started leaking, and it started leaking coolant into the bores and the plugs. So, you know, after all that stuff was resolved, like I said before, everything started running smoothly. So if you guys are still experiencing any issues in terms of either misfiring, the engine turning off right after turning the engine on, or even, for example, rough idling, I would highly recommend that you bring it back to the dealership, tell them to verify even the bores to see if there's any corrosion in the bores or anything else, and have them replace everything if they can, to make sure that the car is running smoothly, because it took a long time for me to get this issue resolved. Like I said, it was a total of about 45 days, but finally everything got solved. Finally, I wanted to thank you guys for all the views and also all the support. Another big thanks as well to BMW of Melbourne. They were phenomenal, like I said before. Once again, I'll see you guys on the next one, and hopefully you enjoyed this video. All right, guys, take care.